Wasn't that your tongue in my mouth, Kathy? My name is Matthew Kroll.
You look like a plate of corned beef. I'm Jamie Walsh.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Wuthering Heights. Topam fam, hi, hello, welcome. Jamie, cheers. Hey, welcome to 2 a.m.
Everything's great.
Delicious. Happy Valentine's Day, my love.
Well, it's 2 a.m. It's not Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's not. Anymore. Well, but technically Valentine's Day doesn't end until you go to bed.
That's a good point. And we did see Wuthering Heights on Valentine's
Day. We did. We saw a 10:30 showing roughly 3.5 hours ago.
It was our special treat.
It was. We had a lovely Valentine's Day together, and we thought, what better way to cap it off than to just yell at you for about an hour about Wuthering Heights.
Guys, we've had some beers. And we have a lot of feelings.
We have a lot of feelings. But email us in your feelings at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought of Wuthering Heights or any other film we've talked about recently. We will get back to emails next week when Shahir is back. Shahir's gone, by the way. Shahir?
Shahir said I'm not allowed to read the emails.
He did. He was very adamant about Jamie not being allowed to read the emails. I don't know why. So Jamie is probably going to write an email.
I'm going to definitely write an email about Shahir.
We're
telling me I
also
can't
kidding.
Read
He's never said that.
That's true.
That's okay. Jamie, we hatched this plan, this scheme, this dubious plot to talk to one another about this, what we were hoping would be the most weird romantic movie of the year thus far.
I think that it's still the most weird romantic movie of the year thus far. Jesus. Okay, we're going to take that again. Well, it's still the most weird romantic movie of the year thus far. I think our plan succeeded.
Maybe. I mean, Street Fighter hasn't come out yet.
I'm not seeing Street Fighter.
Honey, we'll go to Wuthering Heights on Valentine's Day. But on my special day...
do you want to go on your birthday? What do you want?
It won't be out by then. Actually, Mortal Kombat's more my vibe, but that's okay.
All right, it's true, though. 4 months ago, I kicked the door into Matt's office, and I was like, we're going to see Wuthering Heights on Valentine's Day.
And here we are.
And we did.
And here we are. So, Jamie, before we dive into the film proper, what is your history with the book Wuthering Heights?
Well, as I've said on this podcast and generally shouting in the street and in cafes and to anyone who would listen, I love Gothic literature. And I really love the book Wuthering Heights. It's delightful. It's dastardly. It's romantic. It's obsessive. It's spooky. It's great. If you haven't read Wuthering Heights, I highly recommend it. It's not just drag yourself through a classic book. It's fabulous. It's fun to read. I read it on the Metro North commuting back and forth from work, and I would clap my hand over my mouth in shock and scandal. It's fun as hell.
Spoiler alert, that happens in the movie.
A lot
of hand clapping over the mouth.
A lot of stuff happens in the movie.
But I will say Emily Bronte's 1847 novel is something that did effectively change the way literature was engaged with in a lot of different ways.
It crushes.
It crushes. It also was incredibly scandalous at the time. There's a whole history of her and her two sisters who were also authors. Actually, if you're interested in sort of more on that, you can go to Extra History on the YouTube page, a series we used to do that I missed doing called So You Haven't Read, which was basically gave you primers of books and then taught you a little bit about the authors. And our Wuthering Heights episode is quite lovely. We just revisited it because I hadn't watched it in 3 years or however it's long since we've come out.
And it is lovely. But I, if you don't mind me coming in hot on the beginning of this,
on the film,
on the whole thing, you talked a lot about Heathcliff being the protagonist, and I think he's the antagonist of the book.
Well, I from what I remember, and it's been a hot minute since I've actually read it, he is antagonistic, but the book, I mean, because the stories are told, and again, this is different from the movie, as being recounted from a neighbor reading a diary and being visited by a ghost.
Well, yeah, the movie leaves out. The movie doesn't do the classic narrative thing of Gothic literature, which is have 3 other different narrators telling the story.
What if the story came from a book that washed up on shore that was written by a seaman 200 years ago?
The most fun thing in Wuthering Heights is the primary narrator, who's this fucking guy who's like renting an old house, and he goes to the landlord's house that's like kind of nearby, and it's spoiler. It's
As
Wuthering
one does.
Heights.
Who has not gone to their landlord's
He gets
house?
like attacked by 6 dogs. He repeatedly gets attacked by dogs during the story while he's just trying to do his business. And then he eventually, one of the servants is like, I'll tell you what's going on. And he becomes so fascinated by the tale that you're hearing through his ears that eventually he's like, all I'm doing is waiting for this woman to wake up in the morning and cornering her so she can keep telling me about the story. He's really he's just desperate for gossip. And it's really fun to hear the story through his lens.
Well, Mr. Lockwood.
Through his lens, through Nellie's lens.
Mr. Lockwood, gone. It's Lockwood, right? I believe it.
I'm pretty sure it's Lockwood.
I think it's Lockwood. It's been a minute. Well, let me tell you what Emerald Fennell's...
Yeah, Matt, do you have IMDb ready?
I do have it ready.
That's
Let me tell you
great.
what the film is actually about, Topam.
I'm doing a bad job at being Shahir. Matt, what does IMDb say?
Thanks, kind of Shahir. IMDb says that Wuthering Heights is, quote, a passionate and tumultuous love story set against the backdrop of the Yorkshire moors, exploring the intense and destructive relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw.
You guys, the moors are so important all the
if
time.
you gotta fuck, you go to the moors.
You go to the moors.
You go to the
fuck.
moors.
Or just think about fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're gonna do our
Never
honeymoon.
really
That's where we're gonna,
Yeah. I think it makes sense. Yeah. Matt, so speaking of IMDb, I checked.
Oh,
so, I knew that there were a multitude of Wuthering Heightses.
Would you like to know how many?
Heightses?
Would you like to know how many?
There are 5 movies and 2 miniseries.
Yeah, but do you know how many other things there are?
Jesus, no.
There have been around, give or take, 35 adaptations across film, television, theater, graphic novels, radio plays. Like every possible iteration of media has pretty much had a Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like right now is the time for Wuthering Heights because everyone's like strangely horny and there's a lot of like romance.
But like in a weird way.
Stuff. Yeah, in
Not
a weird
like
way.
in a normal or like, I would say normal.
In a way that will like attach it to hockey. Or like, you know.
Heated rivalry, big right now.
Bodice rippers are exploding in the market.
It's almost as if the actual world is so sad that everyone's really looking for other forms of escapism really hard.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Zing!
Matt, do you know who in major remakes most recently played Heathcliff before this one?
No, actually. So full disclosure, I've just read the book forever ago. I have never seen a Wuthering Heights adaptation.
Tom Hardy.
What?
I think he'd be a great Heathcliff. Except
on.
that. Okay, except that. And this is a big discussion right now. He's another white guy, and Heathcliff is not supposed to necessarily be a white guy.
In the book, it is constantly talked about how he has darker skin.
He's racially ambiguous
yes.
is the modern term for it. But he's white in every single version of everything that has ever been made. Actually, I don't know
like
that.
a lot of things
all the movies. This one has come under a lot of fire because Jacob Elordi is definitely a white guy. And no effort has been made to not.
I've heard people were like, just fucking cash Dev Patel, you cowards.
I think Dev Patel might be too much of a little sweetie, but I thought Jacob Elordi was a little sweetie. And look at this movie.
Did you see Monkey Man?
No.
Yeah, so he's not as much
That's
of a sweetie.
That's the one where he like punches everyone to death, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Dev Patel would have been maybe great. I don't know. You're looking at a picture of Ralph Fiennes right now as him.
I'm trying to find the other one. The one 2009 Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh God.
God. It's pre.
And at first glance, I thought it was Tina Fey with him, but it's not. It's Charlotte Riley.
It's not Tina Fey. It's definitely not Tina Fey. She's not Catherine.
That is if you can, dear listeners, please Google the 2009 Wuthering Heights because Tom Hardy's wig is doing a lot of work. Regardless.
All right. We got to get back on track here.
Sure.
So we saw this movie.
We saw a 10:30 showing at the AMC at Lincoln Center.
So I have to be clear. I have liked every single thing that I've seen Emerald Fennell do so far. I think that she has, and I want to be clear. I want Emerald Fennell to make a lot more movies. I think that she has perspective and poise and opinion, and I really like her vibe.
Yeah,
it is psychosexual and chaotic. And normally I would attach that to Wuthering Heights.
Sure.
But in this case, I think that there were some problems.
Well, okay. So she had a short, Careful How You Do, then directorial debut of a feature was Promising Young Woman in 2020, which we've done on this podcast with Shalia Evans. Then we did Saltburn on the podcast, the 2023 film, and now her Wuthering Heights.
And I want to be clear. When I saw Saltburn, I was like, oh, hey, this is Wuthering Heights. Like it has this, it's in my opinion, very gothic. It has the same tropes of an outsider coming into this family and being like really intensely adopted by some and not so much for others. And then slowly taking over the entire family and destroying them from the inside out.
Very Heathcliff kind of thing. In the book, I don't know if, and we'll get to it, with the amount of trimming that this film does of the book, you get the vibe of Heathcliff's villainy, but like it's definitely softened.
Sorry, in the movie?
In the movie.
Yeah, for sure softened. He's an absolute, Heathcliff is a villain. 100% an absolute villain in the book. I don't want this to just be a total dissection of the book versus the movie.
It'll be back and forth.
Yeah. And I think that this is what the movie gets right. It's a love story between two psychopaths. Catherine Earnshaw and Heathcliff are psychopaths, and Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi do a great job at being people with almost no moral standing between them. They're great. The actors are all great in this movie, I think. Everyone's turning up, really being serious, really committing. The chemistry's fabulous.
I think Shahzad Latif does a good Edgar. I think Hong Chow does a phenomenal Nellie. Obviously, Alison Oliver's Isabella is kind of like a bit wackadoo, and I liked it.
Well, she really fills out that role until, God, we're going into spoilers early.
No, don't go into it. We'll kind of get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
because we haven't even said really, Jamie, because again, we've been drinking. We haven't said what we actually think about the movie. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You go first, my love.
So I think that this movie was a great time to go to the theater to see on opening night on Valentine's Day. We had a packed theater. Everyone was like understood the assignment, I would say, and like when like I'm going to use air quotes here roughly, a shocking thing would happen, people did react and go, oh.
We had a really campy theater, but at the end, they were all openly crying. And I was like, get it together, you idiots.
That was weird, because I will say that while I did enjoy watching this movie on Valentine's Day with you in that situation, I don't know if this is one I'm going to like ever revisit. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff in it. I think the cinematography is cool. I think the actors are cool.
The skin room.
Charlie XCX's music, pretty cool. The overall vibe, like, I really loved the tons of practical sets, which I absolutely appreciate. Also, like, the manner of Wuthering Heights, like, looks cool. It's like built into an onyx, like, nonsense place in the moors, and I really, really liked that.
It's very supernatural.
Also,
they take it to an extreme. I think at one point there's a stream that they show, but the stream is blood.
I took that as sort of like a clay-bound river.
All right,
but
you took it as clay.
Edgar's house is cool. There's got a bunch of different rooms in it that are all different. Like, the art direction in this movie is cool. Everything in it is cool. I did not feel, I'm sorry to say, a lick of true emotion other than, wow, look at these hot people doing weird, sexy stuff.
There's a lot to this story, and one of those things is intense emotional and romantic connection.
Well, so this is my final thought of my opening volley. That I know that's what it was going for, and while I do think that Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie have chemistry,
out the window.
I just like, I did not give a shit about their actual relationship in this. And maybe it's the actual characters they are, maybe it's the portrayal, maybe it's something else. But like, I will say I had literally zero emotional resonance. I think the only time I was really like, oh no, or like feeling like I'm worried about these characters was when they were kids and when there was some bad shit going on around that time. But other than that, like, we'll get into spoilers, but bad shit happens to these people, and I don't care. Like, I like, it's normally like a Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers story is something where you're like, oh God, I'm so sad these two can't be together. And this version of this story is, I was not sad at all that they couldn't be together. So does that make sense? That's kind of my opening volley. So just to pitch back to you, Jamie, tell me your first thoughts of Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights.
Well, actually, I want to pick at something that you said, because there is a fantastic scene in this movie where you meet two characters. You meet two siblings. I think in this they're wards. I think they might be siblings. They're siblings in the book. It's a man and his ward in this one. For reasons I don't totally understand, because nobody seems to have any children. There's no second generation, so there's no like weird incest to conceal.
The other side of the book.
Yeah. Edgar and Isabella. When you meet Edgar and Isabella, Isabella is going way too hard at Edgar talking about the plot of Romeo and Juliet. It's a fabulous scene because they're in this beautiful garden. She's really passionately talking about the plot, but you ever like, she is completely missing the point because she knows she's so smart, clearly, in this version.
But she's also a child.
She's talking really vigorously about every single plot point of Romeo and Juliet, thus sort of destroying the story of Romeo and Juliet as she's explaining it. Edgar is completely bored, and ultimately it ends in an endearing way. But it's so funny that you say Romeo and Juliet, because I feel like they put that in because in this version, it's this idea of star-crossed lovers that can't be, society doesn't allow them to be together, and thus that's the tragedy. But there's a whole fucking other part of the book that's really important that they just skip. They just don't do that part.
Well, like, did that work for you? Did that not work for you?
It didn't work. I think that there's okay. I don't want to be the person that comes on here and is like, well, the book's different, because that's annoying. This is not a podcast about books.
Yeah, we could start the only podcast about books.
I don't think we should. I just, here's what it is. I want someone to be able to come in and see a movie and be like, this is a great movie. It's from a book? That's awesome. This isn't a good movie because it abandons the scope of the book.
Well, I think let's talk. Can we talk then briefly about like the purpose of adaptation?
Yeah,
right? Because
let's please do that.
Because I often fall into the camp whenever anything is adapted to film. It's like, okay, well, what's the point of the adaptation? Are you trying to get across the actual emotional resonance and importance and reasoning of the piece of source material that is now moving to film, or are you so inspired by it that you're like, no, I got to do my take? Like, you know what I mean? Or is it just a pure cash grab? Like, there's a bunch of different levers you can pull in this scenario, right? This to me just feels like, and I think based on interviews and things like that, it's Emerald Fennell's like, no, this is what she vibed with the book, and she wants to, like, this is her take on the book. Like, she's been very open about that. Now, what is the value here? Do we but this is the danger, right? Like, when an artist takes another artist's work and adapts it to their vibe of what they got from it, that is the type of adaptation that we absolutely can hold a mirror to the original text, because in a way, the new artist, in this case, Emerald Fennell directing this film, is essentially inviting us to, because she's like, this is my version.
Yes, you're right. Has been very clear
it's
about
what
that.
Is important to me about this story. And because she has invited us into doing that, I feel confident saying it's a miss. Like, I think it really did take, at least for me, and apparently not for her, and that's totally fine. And again, I think the film craft on display is actually quite excellent.
I do agree.
But what is special about Wuthering Heights seems to be lost to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong. Did you make like a sexy movie with sexy people? Yeah.
They were so sexy.
Did you craft it with love and make it very wonderful to watch? You sure did.
They put both of their hands in each other's mouths a lot.
Like a lot, sometimes with grass.
And it was successful.
Yeah. But I would say that just because all that happens doesn't make it Wuthering Heights, or at least what is special about Wuthering Heights for me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So like in this case, to go back to your point, I feel you and I and anyone is entirely validated to hold this film up to the book, because that is literally what its creator has talked about since its inception.
It's like when you hear a cover of a song, I think you can cover a song and you can make it pretty much exactly the same as what you heard but singing in your vocals, and it might be a total failure. Or you can do something totally different and it might be a success. Matt, as you know, my favorite song cover ever is Limp Bizkit's Faith. That's a controversial take, I would say.
Yeah, they're both good, but they're both good because they're different.
Yeah, they're different. But also, I do think that he grasps the whole thing. In this movie, it feels like they stopped after the first chorus that they really liked.
I think that's a very good point. I think that Limp Bizkit's Faith looks at George Michael's Faith. Or is it, did Wham do it, or did George Michael solo?
George Michael, I believe.
No, well, George Michael's the lead singer of Wham, but I didn't know.
I think it's just George Michael.
But my point is, like,
write in, and I can't respond because Shahir forbade me to email.
Only in our headcanon. I would say that Limp Bizkit did almost the perfect adaptation in that thing, because they absolutely make it their own, but you still kind of feel the inertia and the vibe of the original, like, in it.
To be clear, you don't have to like that cover. I just think that
but you're a monster if you don't.
Exactly what an execution of a cover should be. It should be, hey, I like this song. I think I can do a version of it that's a totally different creature.
But also that still has the ghost of what's important of the original, but in my own voice. And I think what this movie, what Wuthering Heights is essentially a very clear own voice thing, but I think it loses the ghost, both figuratively and literally.
There's supposed to be ghosts.
There's supposed to be ghosts.
And listen, it would be okay if there wasn't. Honestly, like, you could skip the ghosts.
No.
Really easily.
No,
you absolutely could skip the ghosts in Wuthering Heights and still make a really hardcore movie. But like, generational trauma is a big part of this. Heathcliff's like long form plan is a part of this. Like,
he's not a conniver here.
Yeah, he just shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm hot now," and
do you see my gold tooth?
They have a really intense affair, which they don't really
for like 15 minutes.
I'm trying to find the language of the podcast. Now that I've had some drinks, if they are intimate in the book, it's off page. Like it's not clear. And in this, it's really, really clear that they're intensely intimate, and it sort of just ends after that.
What do you mean? Sorry, like what their story?
They have an affair, and then she's like, "I'm gonna have a baby." Can we do spoilers? I feel like
absolutely. No, we're definitely into spoiler territory. Yeah.
Here's the problem: we have to, because there's not that much to talk about. That's the frustrating thing.
That's the big spoiler.
I don't have a lot to say because the movie is just the first half of the book. I almost feel like we should have had a Wuthering Heights Part 1 right at the beginning of the credits. But I don't know that they thought it was going to do well enough to do a part 2.
So,
because there's a bunch of kids that are supposed to show up, like, and then those kids are supposed to get like forced to marry each other. But then it all kind of works out after some of those kids die, and there's also like a servant class of kids because inheriting abuse is a thing. A
lot of the subtext of what makes Wuthering Heights special is lost here because it's truncated. Like, and Emerald Fennell
has not about two people, and this was about two people.
Yeah, Emerald Fennell has gone on record and being like saying that she would love to do this as a mini series with 10 hours because you could get through all of it. But
she should have done that.
Well, no one offered. Like, that's not how the thing worked or how the deal was made, or I don't even know the story behind it. But my point kind of is like, she was saying like, oh well, you can't do it in however long. I think it was a 2-hour movie. And to that, I say, I think you can. Like, so this movie to me, from a pacing perspective, cut out half the book, but then like just sort of elongated the parts, like the first half to fill out the story. Like, I do actually feel like you could have done the multi-generational thing in the timeline, in the time span that this movie takes, in the runtime, right? Because I found, again, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to shit on this movie. I actually think it's a pretty good time at the movies.
Oh, we had fun. We had a fun time.
But at the end of the day, it is just sort of like schlocky titillation, and it's but like crafted in an incredibly visual, like an incredibly like cared for visual aesthetic. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish that that there was just more to it than that, and there isn't. Like,
I think, I keep thinking, oh no, we've had some beers, and so we're not speaking well about this movie.
did lose my train of thought on that last bit, and that's totally fine.
It's possible that is because of the beer, but I think actually the problem is that there is not much to say. I think that this ends in a lot of chemistry and a lot of absence of the text, which is frustrating for me because I think I am used to Fennell telling a complex and ornate and informative story, and Wuthering Heights is the kind of story I would think she could take on in its depth, in its fullness, and for her to sort of just not and decide to just do the sexy part is a little strange for me.
Yeah, and I will say, sorry,
it feels like we're missing a whole part.
I was getting to runtime and how they cut stuff out and how she was saying that they couldn't have fit it. They absolutely could have. I think that she could have. I just think, and this is, her prerogative, any filmmaker's prerogative when they're doing it, she's not interested in that part of the story. And I want to bring this back to the concept of adaptation and how the interviews with her about this movie have kind of been going. And it's essentially, she's been saying like she read this book, I think when she was 14 or very young, and it stuck with her. And when she started working on this screenplay, the adapted screenplay, she sort of just like adapted it from memory. She obviously went back and checked some things and whatnot, but like it was she wanted to make her memory and evoking the feeling when she was a young girl reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, I've never been a young girl. Jamie, maybe you can fill this in, but the entirety of the structure of the plot had an incredible, like, young teenage vibe to it. Like, don't get me wrong, like the adult, the sexual explicitness notwithstanding, I'm talking about like the way that every relationship was portrayed felt so much like an early teenager's idea of what relationships are.
Yeah, and that's frustrating because like Fennell has shown us much more advanced tropes.
But I want to say this, I think that because we've seen Saltburn and because we've seen Promising Young Woman, this is a choice. This is not for lack of skill.
It's a choice, but it's kind of a boring choice.
Agreed.
Because it doesn't have any.
Agreed. But I'm not trying to defend this as that. I'm just saying, like, I think I saw the reasoning is like, this is the idea and what she glommed onto when she was a young girl about this story. And then she wants to make that version as an adult now. And look, that's fine. I think right now it's slated to crush at the box office. I was looking up some other things on Box Office Mojo isn't updated yet, but some places are reporting that it is on track. Let's see if I can find this. Deadline is reporting, and I don't know how accurate this is. This was as of, who knows how accurate. This was a Valentine's Day morning. They think it's going to have a $40 million domestic with an $80 million international. I don't know if it's going to make that, but like, there's no question that this will be a talked about and seen film in this space, right? Like people are going to go see it. I just don't know how popular it's going to be. You were saying like, oh, what if they did a part 2? The issue I think here, I don't think it's that they didn't believe in it. I just think that truly this was the part of the story that Emerald Fennell wanted to tell.
I know, but I don't know how they do a part 2 because there's supposed to be like there's supposed to be a whole ass baby.
They don't.
And then like another heir and then like another kid kicking around
she cut it out and she combined characters.
She didn't care. Yeah.
No,
she did not care. That was a misspoke.
Yeah, I think she basically focused on what she did care about, right? Like that's, I think as fans of the book, that's frustrating, at least for me, because again, what is special about it? Like you've been talking a lot about Gothic literature lately, and like the adaptations. We went and saw Frankenstein. We're
in a Gothic literature
Nosferatu
era.
Lately, right?
What a treat,
right?
Yeah.
So like this is a classic Gothic novel, and I didn't get, other than the occasional visual, any real
the Moors.
Yeah, the Moors. Any real Gothic vibe to this.
I'll correct you there. I think that's something successful. Actually, okay, let's say perhaps this is the arc that Emerald Fennell was planting the flag on that is successfully Gothic. Catherine, played by Margot Robbie, who, again, really turned up, you know?
Margot Robbie,
good actor,
is fucking great.
She is a fabulous archetype of a woman in a Gothic novel. She is a little bit insane. She's crazy. Catherine Earnshaw in the book is like not a great person. She's petty. She's violent. She's cruel. And she's obsessed with Heathcliff. My introduction to Wuthering Heights was not through the novel itself. It was through Hark a Vagrant, which was an old literary web comic that this girl drew, which was fantastic.
Oh, shout out.
And her wording was just that they're obsessed with each other. Heathcliff and Catherine are obsessed with each other. And that was successful. And the plot point of Catherine being like, I can't marry this guy. I can't do what I love. I have to find other means because that's the world that I'm built into. I have to advance past what I can do here is realistic to a woman of her time. But then she also is, she's wild. She's attached to her natural feelings. She loves Heathcliff in a way because she feels he's as she says in the book and in this movie, he is more herself than herself. Like he is so much of what they are combined souls and they are so desperately and naturally connected. That's a very emotional, romantic notion that is very Gothic literature. And the tragedy, I would say maybe the full arc of this movie is Catherine realizing her sorrow and hopelessness in going for what she needed to go for in life, feeling that was most important, and then realizing it's not what she would ever be happy doing. And ultimately it kind of kills her because the baby dies, which again is not what happens in the book. So I don't know. And then Nellie like misinterprets the baby dying. And Nellie, does Nellie get fired at the end? Can't tell. I don't know.
I get what you're saying, and I see some of the tropes that you're saying bleeding through. Also,
I do apologize. It's hard to talk about this movie and not talk about the book. And I don't want to be annoying, but I am definitely doing that. So sorry, everybody.
No, Jamie, I think you should stop apologizing for that. Again, there are elements in this is only my opinion, but the way that this movie has been made and talked about being made invites the comparison.
And the complexity of, I don't know. You know, I went in guns a-blazing to defend whatever was going to happen in this movie because everybody was, especially in my circles, there was a lot of like, this is totally inaccurate. Everything looks way off, period. What could this movie be?
I don't give a shit about.
And I was like, hey, guys, we all just really loved Frankenstein, which was a wild swing of difference from the book. So we can't get mad at this being different from the book if it still is a good interpretation.
Right.
But I don't think it was a good interpretation.
That's my point. And I think that I want to make it very clear. I think that's why you feel a little bit of guilt for feeling the way you do. And I don't think you should. I think you are absolutely right. The problems are not the aesthetic. The problems are not the inaccuracy of the times. The problems are not
costumes. Costumes are stunning. Yeah. They're beautiful.
The problem is not narrative structure. It's they made a movie called Wuthering Heights, and they gutted a lot of what was special, to me at least, about Wuthering Heights. Like that's where I'm landing. Like, let's back up a bit.
It feels a little empty.
A lot of the characters were sort of combined. In the book, Catherine has a brother.
Yes, a brother and a father who dies early, who's very loved. So the brother
and the father are kind of combined here. And like, for instance, truly, if you're not doing the entirety of the second half of the book.
If that's the only character that's combined. No, because the others are just erased.
No, I think a lot of them are combined. I think so. For instance, I believe Nellie is the maid that Lockwood talks to.
Yes.
So now that character is combined into the housemaids of Catherine.
That's kind of the same person.
No, but they weren't. Well, they were, but it's a different time period of her life because that's when Catherine's dead and everyone's older. Like they're having these conversations.
No, Catherine's arc is accurate to Catherine's timeline. She dies in childbirth, but she has a whole ass baby, and the baby grows up, and then Nellie also for a time takes care of that person.
That's what I'm saying. In the book, we meet them like when Lockwood is talking to Nellie, it is much later. They're getting diaries. They're hearing stories.
But that's not a combination of character. I think Nellie is pretty much the same, except.
But maybe I guess you're right. I think maybe it's just that we're like only seeing the first half of Nellie and not.
We're only seeing the first,
and not the reason why Nellie is actually in the book as the narrative device of telling
Nellie
the things.
tells the story of the entirety of the book.
But the interesting part here, I found it daring even, and it's funny that it actually kind of worked for me. Kathy is so like on like a light switch cruel to Nellie, like a lot, and it's funny because you're talking about the other psychopaths, like you kind of see when they're little kids at the hanging. We're doing a series on Victorian horror, and we're doing the birth of true crime, and a lot of that comes from public hangings. The narrative stuff and the merchandising of public hangings, like they became entertainment essentially, and then there'd be rap sheets about like that would be like, oh, the person who hung wrote this thing, and this is what they're decreeing, and like that sort of started the bit of true crime, and then artists started illustrating it. And illustrating people reading those news sheets, and like it goes real sort of cyclical. But you kind of see in Nellie and Kathy, like Kathy's like watching it, like, yeah, this is fucking great.
Yeah, she's like gets off on it a little bit. She's like a kid, so not like sexually, but like she's like enticed. You know, she's excited by the brutality of the scenario.
But she always has Nellie at a bit of an arm's length because as even in the movie, like she's kind of a paid friend. She's a companion / guide, I guess, in life. I don't know what the actual wording of that, or like what the title of that is. But Kathy turns on a cruelty to her a couple times throughout the movie that you're just like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, it's specifically the moment when they're talking and Heathcliff's about to listen. And she says something incredibly cruel, like no one's ever loved you and no one's going to. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking? Like it made no sense to me, like narratively. I felt very truncated. And then Nellie notices Heathcliff is right by and is like, well, fuck this bitch. And like just basically like plays the scene out in a way that Heathcliff can hear in a certain way. Again, the most lightest touch manipulation ever because it's still all Kathy. It's just one of those classic like sitcom, they didn't hear the full story kind of things, and then that's why Heathcliff leaves.
Which does happen in the book.
No, I know. I'm not saying it doesn't. What I'm saying is I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about like from the characterization perspective of Kathy.
Yeah.
That moment in particular, and then from moving on from that, made me like in the book, I'm not like rooting for Kathy. Here, I didn't like Kathy. Like there's kind of like I like Margot Robbie, and Margot Robbie's doing a lot of lifting to like keep me engaged in what's going on. But I was just like the sudden turns of cruelty that happened. I was like, well, yeah, you're obviously terrible. Like, and it made it hard for me to give a shit about the star-crossed lovers if both of them are dicks. And the reason why the book works is because there's so much other shit going on other than that. And here it's just them.
I think I would have really loved this if at the end of it, they would have been like, we're going to do another one and there's more coming, because it would have made, I don't know if that would have sold to everybody, but like it would have made a little more sense for a continuation. If it had been, if the baby had lived, if Hareton, who is a whole ass character, very important in the book, was existent, but was not in this. Like, if they had brought those other characters in and then it ended where it ended, but then we knew there was another story, I would have been like, great, cool, interesting. Okay, I am looking forward to the next installment here.
I'm actually confused as to why they didn't do that. It's not for lack of belief, I don't think. Like,
because it didn't seem like they were ever planning on a two-parter.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But like, there's a way to, it's funny, your Monday morning quarterbacking, like I do this all the time. Like I could see a version where the child lived and it's still kind of the thing, and like this child's still born, and like the movie still ends the way it does. Like there's no way, and then you could choose if you wanted to go back and do something else. But I go back to, I don't think Emerald Fennell gives a fuck about that part of the book, and that makes me connect with it less. Like I just think she, as a kid, engage with these two hot people in a steamy.
Who greenlights that? I don't know. Like that's just such a boring movie to make. Like
I think you come off Saltburn. A movie that I think deals with class structure and the description and the condemnation and the explanation of all of that in such an interesting way.
Yeah.
That I think you can't help but hold the mirror from that to Wuthering Heights. So then if she comes to a studio, I don't even know how this sort of came about. If she goes to them and essentially is like, oh, well, I want to do this. And you look at where, like what the other hyper successful thing that she did was, that I can absolutely see where it gets greenlit.
You know what always gets me, Matt? You got Frasier. You got the character Frasier.
Republican sweetheart, Kelsey Grammer's Frasier.
Yeah. I'm talking about Republican sweetheart Kelsey Grammer, who played Frasier, an erudite, warm-hearted psychologist who sort of reached out to the people on his radio show and had all these thoughtful, insightful things to say. And yes, he was a snob, but he was likable because he was so self-aware. And I'm always like, how are you this guy? How are you, Kelsey Grammer, able to play Frasier and then be the person that you are in real life, which is an asshole historically and notoriously. So listen, I'm not saying Emerald Fennell is Kelsey Grammer. That would be wild. But I am saying, Fennell, how'd you do Saltburn and then do this? How'd you do Saltburn, which is so complicated, and how'd you do Promising Young Women? Sorry about the beer, guys.
Yeah.
Women, which
it's Promising Young Woman, by the way, not women.
Depth. Oh, great! I was right.
You were right the first time.
And then take a text that is tremendous and rich and meaningful, and only do the hot bit that is interesting to you. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened that we missed the rest of this book that made it really good. It feels like it feels I'm confused and disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she felt, and again, we won't know unless you want to come on the podcast, Emerald. That'd be lovely. I'd love to talk to you about this.
Dude, me too. Would love to get you a drink. Emerald Fennell, I want you to keep making movies. This was not the one. Please make more. Please make different. Please do better.
Yeah,
than this
I
one.
think I can't just go back into just like, maybe she thought that she had already done the class stuff with Saltburn. Like maybe like
what did she have to revisit?
Maybe she thought she'd be rehashing if she did the other bit. And again, we're kind of pontificating here because at the end of the day, Jamie, you made a very good point. There isn't a ton to talk about outside of the steamy bits of and the art direction of this movie. Like we've kind of covered all the bases, so you're left wondering and comparing the text, which again, I do feel that the creators have invited by their description of why it was made and how it was. Again, the interpretation of a young version of the director earlier in her life, who now made this version based on the things that grabbed her as a kid.
It's true. If anything, they did suggest early on to us, hey, this isn't as complicated as Wuthering Heights, but why make it? You know, if you're not going to go to the full heights of the Wuthering,
why Wuther? Why Wuther at all?
Why Wuther?
Why Wuther? I'm trying to think if there's anything else like truly like grabby about this. I did feel like the movie started for me feeling a bit repetitive by the last third.
Yeah.
And which again goes back to my sort of argument of like, you could have fit the other stuff in here. Like I felt like I know like story beats were happening, but it felt like tonally I was like, yeah, I get it. And we didn't move and learn something new about any of these characters or have enough interesting things sort of happen that it justified like the 30 or 40 minutes like that we were going back and forth between like Heathcliff and Kathy like being mean to each other in different ways.
Yeah.
And like, can we talk about the sex scenes a little bit?
I would love to.
Okay, so
that was the most fun part.
It was the most fun part, but like there was like sexy moments, but I wouldn't say like any particular like sex scene was terribly long enough or like it didn't like it was almost like highlights.
Well, the sex scenes were often in montage because mostly it was an affair. The most erotic part of the movie is the hands and eyes over mouth.
Or the fingers and eggs.
There's a lot of egg play in this movie.
Which is very Emerald Fennell.
Agreed. Very Emerald Fennell. No. This movie's plenty erotic. That's not
what I'm saying. I'm saying like what's interesting for a movie that is this sort of sexually charged is there's no like a set. It's weird to say this, but like sex scene in the pacing of a normal scene. Like there's like
it's the hand over mouth scene. That bit is
the only one, but that's interesting because while it is a very intense moment between those two characters, those two characters are not having sex in it.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It shapes both of their sexualities for like
absolutely.
The rest of their lives.
But yeah. I think everything else is like a highlight reel, which is interesting if the point is
there's the table bit.
The table bit.
Yeah, it's like the last bit.
Which one? Sorry, I'm not even remembering.
They fuck on a table and they talk through it. They talk about like killing people.
But like that's where it gets a little wonky for me.
There's a little bit of like Natural Born Killers vibe between these two at some points.
It's funny. We saw the trailer too for The Bride, the Bride of Frankenstein movie that's coming out. And it has a lot like by the end of it when they're talking about like, well, at least when Heathcliff's talking about killing.
The trailer doesn't make it look good.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited for in another morbid kind of curiosity sort of way. But I guess that's kind of par for the course when you're dealing with Frankenstein's monster and his bride. But I feel like I felt like the sexiness was also like montaged a lot. Outside of that one scene you did say.
Interesting. There was
It's not that I want like
there were a lot of sexy montages.
Yeah.
Hey, again, guys, go see the movie and have fun. Like we didn't have a bad time.
I had a great time.
I'm not going to think about it.
That's what bugs me. And you're absolutely right. Like I'm not going to think about it. You know what? Let's end on a happy note though. I think I will remember having a wonderful Valentine's Day with you going to see this movie and then bitching about it into microphones at 3 a.m.
Baby, that's so sweet.
Well, I love you very much. And I think that this is a fun thing to do when we get to go do these kind of things together. And I don't know, I thought it'd be fun to share with the world our love for each other and our simmering distaste for this movie, even though it was a fun time.
Yeah, I think in conclusion, Matthew, I love you too. Sorry, podcasters.
No, we're fine. They know we've been drinking. It's okay.
This movie was not unpleasant to watch. Everyone's really hot. The atmosphere is very good. It's a very emotional movie. I love an emotional movie, you know? Read the book. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favor and read it. It's Absolutely. Fantastic. And frankly, I'm pissed that the movie had an opportunity to do. Emerald Fennell could make this movie so excellently, and instead we have this, and that's frustrating.
I think she made an excellent version of a boring version that she remembered as a kid. I think that's my if I had to do my short take on it.
You know what we can all do? We can all have a sexy daydream on our own. You know what? You don't need to go see a movie. Just think real hard. Use your imagination, and then you're good. And you know what Emerald Fennell did? She poured millions of dollars into that exercise, and that's what we watched.
I mean, she didn't.
Yeah,
she got hired to do
Emily Brontë, yeah.
I do think the movie is a good time to go see. It definitely, I was a bit when we were leaving the theater, when people were talking about it and talking about like being emotionally wrecked, I was like, really? I think a lot of people were having a good time, but like when we were leaving, I could not believe that take.
Yeah, no, again, by the end of the movie, everyone was like fully invested. And I thought, oh, we're doomed.
We're doomed. Yeah, I mean, there was some crying and I listen, I had a fun time. I feel like we keep making excuses, but I could not fathom shedding a tear at this movie.
The Times put out an article. Please forgive me. I don't remember who wrote it. It was a good article, but it was sort of about how we're all getting dumber and cinema is reflecting that. And themes in major movies are getting a little more like obvious. Like even in the really good, they brought up Anora and they were like, it's a Cinderella story. They're really clear about that. They're extremely clear about it being a Cinderella story. At one point, someone yells Cinderella. Like we're not interested in nuance right now as a culture of viewers. And I almost feel like maybe this movie proved that point.
Maybe. I don't know if I use Anora as the example.
I know that Anora was a very good movie, but they did make the point of sort of to get people to understand what they're watching, they have to be a little ham-fisted about it. I
agree with the concept. I think that media is actually doing that very clearly, more so in television, but it's seeping into movies. I mean, you're seeing things, especially on the streaming services, where they'll like reiterate a plot point like 2 or 3 times because they don't think you're going to be always in the room when it's on.
Yeah. Well, and we just watched, what did we just watch? What's that John Hamm crime show?
Oh, Your Friends and Neighbors.
We called it John Hamm crime show.
Your Friends and Neighbors.
Your Friends and Neighbors, yeah. Like
great trashy time.
It's a great it's not always trashy, but it's just a little trashy. And I remember thinking, oh, so okay, John Hamm. We have John Hamm from Mad Men, which was like peak prestige television. And now we're in this show, which is a little bit stupid. Not completely stupid, but a little stupid. And I don't know if it's John Hamm's fault. I think it's ours.
Yeah, I think media overall ebbs and flows. I think like we're in a time.
We're in a stupid time.
We're in a stupid time. But that also but to be very clear, there is a lot of deep cinema that is out there. Just go back and listen, listeners, if you haven't, if you're looking for something a little bit deeper than say this adaptation of Wuthering Heights. Go back and listen to our podcast on No Other Choice, or It Was Just an Accident, or All That's Left of You, or The Secret Agent, or any other very plain named thing that is incredibly deep. Sentimental Value. Like these films are out there, but they're not mainstream at all. Like there used to be like the mid-budget drama that was really smart that would make a bunch of money at the box office. And we don't have that anymore. And that's sad. We are definitely in a downswing, but like to the point that you made, Jamie, like television specifically was real stupid for a long time. And then Mad Men happened, and then Lost or Breaking Bad or any of these other things happened. Like that, like it moved into prestige television, and we were on an upswing for a while. And I think we're going back down right now, if not already at the bottom.
I know that this is going to start a fight in our relationship. I would put like The Sopranos into the prestige.
Sopranos was the first one. Sopranos was absolutely the first one.
I would absolutely boot Lost out of the
never seen Lost.
Completely and entirely.
You've never seen it.
I've seen a little bit of Lost.
So I've seen both The Sopranos and Lost and Mad Men and Breaking Bad. So I will put them in the categories.
The fight can be off the podcast.
No, the fight is on the podcast.
Oh,
email us in onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Does Lost belong in the actual plethora and pantheon of prestige television?
Matt,
I think it does. We would not have even though it did die at the end, we would not have a Game of Thrones without Lost.
I think that Matt would like to have a podcast the only podcast about Lost.
I would do a lot, but there's like
Lost and Found. No, someone's already done that. Someone's got to have already done Lost and
the
Found.
Dharma Initiative. I truly think that there are too many Lost podcasts, and I will never do one, but God, it would be fun.
Okay.
Emerald Fennell, you could be our first guest on our new Lost podcast.
Should we stop talking?
Why? What time is it?
Should we just keep going?
It's only 3:13. No, we should stop.
Okay,
we should stop.
Hey, everybody, get out of here.
Everybody, this has been the only podcast about the film Wuthering Heights. Jamie, my beautiful fiance, thank you so much for coming on and staying awake with me and yelling at each other about this silly, silly, silly movie. When you are not talking into a microphone in the apartment that you live, where can folks find you?
Well, I'm usually staying up until 3 a.m. regardless. But you can find me on Instagram at JimJam_Walsh. And yeah, that's probably it. How long can I drag this out? Hey, Matt, when you're not masturbating against a rocky crag while Jacob Elordi stares at you in the distance, where can folks find you?
You can find me starring in Jamie Walsh's fan fiction over at my website. That's Extra History or Extra Credits over on the YouTube machines. By the time this comes out, let's see what's going to be coming out before.
He's in a
this.
full bodice.
I am right now. I did the whole thing. I would tighter. What's going to be coming out on the channel, I believe, at that point? I think by the time this comes out, our 4th and final episode in our Tyrants anthology on Richard III will be coming out. So please go check that out. It is a fascinating one.
For anyone who's lived in a costuming cave for the last 100 years, obviously the scene where she's asking the corset to be tighter is wildly inaccurate. That's not how corsets work, nor would they ever be on bearskin.
Well, there you go. I don't know if there's any other actual factual thing we could say to end the podcast better.
I just need to be clear. Everyone's mad about that scene, and I just to be clear.
Everyone's mad at it?
From my perspective, everyone's mad about
That's
it.
okay. I believe you. I trust you implicitly.
That's a mistake.
I know. But hey, that's what love is. Right? Trusting someone implicitly, even if it's a mistake. That's what love is.
Is that love?
I think so.
Christ, I think you might be right. We're in trouble.
Oh, no. All right, everybody. We're going to go take that mental spiral on our own time.
Everybody drink water.
Drink water. We're going to go drink water.
Sorry about this podcast. It wasn't our best.
No. But it was fun.
But it wasn't Emerald Fennell's either.
Oh. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Bye.